Hello and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Jo Yardley. My name is Drexter Dupre, and I know it's been kind of a running joke a little bit the last few months. Well, the show is called Jo Yardley, but there is no Jo Yardley. Jo is out because she has computer issues, and I actually want to start a little fundraising campaign because she doesn't have a functioning machine that has a microphone and at the same time runs Second Life. We're broadcasting live today with a really fascinating panel, and we're live, and I please have everybody mute their voices and then toggle to speak so that we have clean audio. We need to mute that, please. We're streaming live from SL14B, and we're in this huge building. Let me zoom out here. If you're on the podcast, you of course don't see that. But we're on this tiny little stage. Well, the stage is huge, but we're inside this little pavilion of sorts. And here's the audience. And I'm joined today by a whole bunch of folks, and we may have more people coming in to talk about the subject of the show, which is why we're still here. Well, the show is called We Are Still Here, and obviously we're here at Second Life's 14th birthday party. And what's interesting, we are in a time where virtual reality is being talked about everywhere, and very little is talked about Second Life, especially in the terms of success. I stipulate, and I do this every week on the podcast, that Second Life is a huge success, not only in its longevity, its sustainability, but also in its sort of revolutionary proposition that we can all be creators, and that sort of the distinction between creator and consumer is sort of a barrier that is not to be crossed somehow. Second Life has kind of collapsed these barriers, and I want this to be the theme a little bit today. So let me introduce people, and they introduce themselves a little bit as well. From left to right, we have Cinnamon Catnap. Cinnamon, welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit what you do in a nutshell?
Hello, everyone. I'm Cinnamon Catnap, and I'm this year's builder of the DJ stage. It's a great big top hat with streamers coming off of it and everything. And then all down below is like a carnival. It's carnivalesque. It's very much in theme with this year's SO14B. So, yes, I built the great big huge top hat, and then there's a Ferris wheel and bumper cars and everything else down below, all kinds of animals. Oh. It's pretty fabulous. I'm very honored to do it this year.
How long does it take you to build that, and do you build that with prims, or is that kind of a mixture of things?
It was all prim. I built it all from prim, and I built it. It took me about 4 weeks to pull it all together, and I had a team of builders that worked with me on it, which was amazing. It was this whole thing has been an amazing experience.
This is awesome. I have a whole bunch of questions for you with the prims, because this another thing I think that Second Life is so revolutionary with the prim concept, and obviously there's a lot of people who dismiss prim builders as amateurs, and then there are others who, when Mesh first was introduced in 2011, I remember there was some really kind of nasty taking sides. Well, we'll get into that. Next to you is Zana Firebride. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Zana? How are you doing?
Yes,
and introduce yourself.
Yes, well, I'm Zana Firebride, and my primary thing here in Second Life, aside from being here, is DJing. I also work with the with a companions guild here in Second Life, where we're, as we put it, spreading love in a cold verse, kind of creating the intangible in a way, you could say.
Oh, the companion? Say that again. The companion.
Yes. Companions guild.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do
if
they
you ever
do?
saw Firefly.
They No, so to my shame, I've never seen it. I know all about it, but
basically,
I've never
from what
seen
I've been doing, from what I've been doing, you could say cross a courtesan with a diplomat and a part-time contract lawyer. It's a more complex thing than some might think at first.
Is that legal?
Completely.
Good.
That's her story, sticking to it.
Okay, here's Diana.
Especially since it's a donation basis anyway.
Sorry, we'll get into that a little bit more. Here's Diana Fire next to you. Diana, introduce yourself real quick in case people don't know you. You've been on the show a few times.
I'm Diana. I have done everything for SL birthday celebrations except build stages.
Mm-hmm. For how long? For 14 years?
No, this is my 10th year.
Mm-hmm.
I started in SL 5B.
Wow. And so how is that job? Is that a 24/7 job during the time of the event?
Yes, it is.
Are you coordinating all the builders? You have to make sure that people come out with the stuff in time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this year I did curate all of the stages with the exception of the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
And the stage left.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do? Tell us a little bit about how the day works for you.
We start in January. January 1st this year, Doc sent out the email. It was, okay, it's time. So we start with, we figure out how much land do we need, and then we get it. And it actually dropped on January 20th this year, which is like 4 months earlier than it ever has.
How do you figure out how much land you need? I mean, do you know already kind of how many people are building stuff prior to that day?
Well, we always calculate our stages first. We know we're always going to have that 4-region cake stage.
Mm-hmm. Made by Mikati Slade, who I was meeting yesterday.
That thing is fabulous. You know, we decide, you know, like this year, we went with the same configuration for all of our stages. I'm going to try to negotiate with Doc this year. I think DJ stage needs to be 2 regions also. They have consistently been at capacity or near capacity.
Okay, but then the parcel for the individual builders, they're kind of roughly the same, correct?
Correct.
Or do they sometimes you get more applications?
We do have larger ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes like this, and everybody asks, well, why did so-and-so get a bigger one? Mm-hmm. We have 1024 square meters for regular exhibits. We have 4096 exhibits for art installations or those that have exhibited before and we felt that they'd benefit from a larger exhibit, like the Dirty Grind. And Jo Yardley got one this year. Because you know how it is when she has happy hour, you're bumping into people, you got to stand out in the road. And so
is that how it is? I've never been to a happy hour. So Jo Yardley, of course.
One of her happy hours? Shame on you.
No, I don't drink. Teetotaler. Jo Yardley from 1920s Berlin, and of course of this podcast again. I mean, she is unfortunately not with us, but her exhibit here at SL14B is really awesome. We've been there yesterday. We streamed live from it. Gives you a little glimpse into the full 1920s Berlin exhibit, and it's really amazing how evocative just that little parcel is. I mean, you go into that courtyard and you're transported back in time. It's quite amazing. Let me introduce. Oh, Judy already fell asleep. Because she's all the way on the other side. Darkstone, please introduce yourself. Darkstone Aeon is to my left.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Darkstone Aeon. I was granted the fine opportunity of being able to create the Welcome Center, Welcome Sim over on Impressive this year.
Oh wow!
And it was quite an honor to be able to do that. I enjoyed it. It took us a couple of months to. It took me probably longer to get the idea of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it than it took to actually build it.
Mm-hmm.
and I worked with BB Woodford, who creates all the pretties, does all the flowers, makes things look good.
Mm-hmm. That is really fascinating. I'll ask you when we go the next round how you conceptualize the welcome area, because it's interesting. This is a community celebration, and I would venture to guess that it's almost almost all people who show up are residents that are familiar with Second Life. So you're dealing with a different situation than with a welcome area for a total noob. But you kind of want to show them a little bit the theme and all that kind of stuff. All right, as I want to go over to Judy, our very special ex-Linden guest. Judy, I think, crashed. Does anybody see Judy? She is still on the list of locals. Is she? Judy may have crashed, but we have another person here from the olden days, because this is just amazing. 14 years in Second Life. We have Filthy Fluno here, but he looks like he's looking out the window here. If you're watching it on the stream, you see Filthy with his gigantic hair, just looking away from us. I don't know if you can hear us. If you're on the podcast and you don't have the visuals, you can see Filthy with his 3D glasses, looking away from us through the window as if he wants to get away from that situation that I forced him into it. Filthy Fluno is an amazing artist who really pioneered the use of Second Life in many ways, and one particularly successful way was that he offered his real life art for sale in Second Life by doing virtual exhibits, and then people could pick out a piece of art that was displayed here, and then he would ship it to them. So let's give Fluno some time. Filthy, I'm going to go the round back and start with you, Darkstone. Tell me, what is the objective when you build a welcome area? I mean, you're not expecting total noobs to come in here, right? I mean, I guess I don't know if anybody has any statistics, but I would venture to guess that at this point, this is a celebration that is primarily for existing residents. So is that goes into your thinking when you build the welcome area? All right, dead air. That's not good for radio. Nobody wants to talk to me anymore. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was talking. I was talking to myself.
Oh.
The one parameter that I was given was that there would be 60,000 people coming through the Welcome Center, and that we needed to get them in and out. And contrary to your belief, there are a lot of brand new noobs showing up in various levels of clothing or not. And
Darkstone, this is amazing. This is amazing what you're saying.
Walking into each other.
Yeah, this is why I love this, because now you're blowing my mind. I was like, oh, who's gonna come here? But obviously it's also advertised on the homepage and the destination guide. So you're saying noobs show up and 60,000. This is amazing. This is amazing.
That was the number I was given. I can only believe that that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, I can believe it. So then people show up. Are you there? Okay, wait a minute. I have so many questions. So first of all, how does that inform your thinking when you design it?
Well, there was a couple of things. One, I wanted to be comfortable with what I knew how to do, and a lot of my work has been around dragons. And then I was thinking about the carnival. And there are different ways of creating a carnival atmosphere. And then I thought of Jurassic Park. And then I thought of, Dragon Park. The park that they tried to clone dragons and ended up being abandoned by the, SLers and going only to dragons. Mm-hmm. So the whole idea behind that is that it was basically an abandoned park that's been reverted back to the dragons, and there are still some rides that are available there. You can ride a couple of dragons, and there's a welcome center that's in somewhat broken up, and but you can still get some information out of there. And there's a cave where the dragons have hoarded their riches, and you can find some gifts in there. And there are a lot of things, a lot of fun places to go, some places to hang out, and some places to hide. So, and it's also, quick and easy. You get your landmarks and you can get out of there. You can get a schedule of events, or you can hang around. And every time I've looked at the map, I've seen a number of people hanging and talking and, exploring, which is nice. It's nice to be able to have that. And I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, so I feel good.
That's awesome.
This year, it has been our first more interactive welcome area. With the rides and everything else. And I just camped over there and checked. As of this moment, since starting Sunday, 44,032 people have traveled through the welcome area.
There you go.
Whoa, 44,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
Nice.
People have been saying in the audience that my voice is a lot louder than the others. Let me know if that is better. The mix that goes out to the YouTubes may be different. So folks on YouTube that are watching, please let me know what the levels are between me and the panelists here. Let me know. Let me jump to Cinnamon here real quick with your experience in building this. Now you described it earlier. When you think about noobs, I was wondering, Darkstone kind of indicated that he's sometimes maybe lurking and kind of watching how people, use his space. Are you doing that? Are you hanging out every day to look at how people enjoy your space? Is that what building is?
I've hung out there a bit, but I also like going to the other stages as well. The whole experience of building a stage and being around has been really amazing for me. But I do like being there at the DJ stage and watching people there enjoying it. It's pretty amazing. And I put out arrows and stuff. So if you're new, you can find your way to the DJ stage. There's no missing it. You can't miss the great big top hat.
If I can just interject, I love your build. I think it's absolutely fabulous. It is so bright and colorful and so much to do there. And if you don't play the bumper cars, then you haven't done anything in Second Life.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I gotta say,
it's a lot of fun.
You said this earlier, all with prims. Real quick, one more question for the YouTube folks: are my levels okay? Somebody said that my levels have dropped off. My volume in my monitor, it sounds pretty good. So this is primarily for the YouTube audience because the audio is routed out there. It's always a little bit tricky to stream this and then record it. And also make sure that the in-world voice is good. Now, you're building with prims, Cinnamon, and, mesh. Everybody's talking mesh, and a lot of people say, oh, prims, it's obsolete. It's like old-fashioned. I mean, come on.
Old school. I've heard that.
What would you tell people?
It's actually... Well, I built the whole stage out of primarily prim, but there are some mesh items that I did use on it. But the whole entire stage itself is actually just all done from prim. I just built from scratch, from the ground up, and then texturized it.
Okay.
And it's the lowest lag around there. I don't have a whole ton of scripts going on there, which helps a lot because everybody knows about lag.
Judy is back here. All right. Unfortunately, unable to connect to the chat server at this time. Well, that does happen, right? So she's not on voice, so we'll wait a little bit. Can somebody from the audience type to Judy, please, that we're aware of this, that we can see it? I can't type while I'm moderating the show. Now, let me ask you, Lizana, you're not building anything here, but it was really interesting.
Not professionally.
But you heeded my call when I said, I want people to talk a little bit about why they're here also. And you also, you emailed me and you said you're also an active role player. You have a whole bunch of different interests. So let's start with you and then I'll go the round, because the theme of the show is, why are you still here, or why are we still here? Now, if I ask you that question, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'm out of Second Life, I left. And people are kind of specific, like I left because of this, or I left in 2011 or something. Why are you still here?
Well, because there are still people here that I enjoy interacting with, things I still enjoy doing. One thing that I noticed over the years is what keeps me going is I make sure I'm not only doing one thing. Because if I did, I'd either lose it, or because it was under somebody else's control, or I'd get bored. So the fact that SL has always had a wide range of things to do has kept me going.
How about the community? A lot of people complain about that it's not like it was anymore. I mean, I see this. I'm also in that Facebook group, and it sometimes baffles me. A lot of people say, yes, I logged in yesterday and nobody was there. That is such a strange comment from somebody who was supposedly a longtime Second Life enthusiast. That person should know that when you randomly log in, look around for 2 minutes and there's nothing to do, that is not representative of the world, right?
Exactly. There are things that aren't around anymore, but other things have risen up. And there are others that have endured. It's a matter of looking.
Anybody else chime in here on this? Darkstone, why are you still around? I mean, Diana, I know the reason why you're still around is because you need to make the you need to make SLB happen, SL 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you're stuck here. You can't leave. No, but seriously, Diana, let's start with you. Why are you still here?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with SLB. A lot of my friends are here. I have made some long-time friendships that are only here. And, it's a social interaction. I've met people from all over, and some of my closest friends I've never met in person.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd be kind of lost without them.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I was sitting here trying to remember where I remember Zana from. And I remember her as one of those characters back in, like, the noob days from Fallen Angel Creations.
Yes, I knew I remembered your name.
What is that? What are you talking about?
It was a clothing store.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was a clothing store.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the designer fostered this amazing amount of connection in his chat room.
Oh, yeah, it was like this wonderful little community of all different kinds of people.
I remember that store.
Yeah, I mean, we were either hanging out in the store or we were hanging out in group chat.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can talk. I can listen.
And
I will feel...
even though some people have gone, they've left Second Life for whatever reason, we still communicate with each other.
Yes, we do.
I can say for me that when I first started, I was camping a lot because I refused to put my credit card into this game, and so I would camp. And I can tell you that the people that I first met are still on my friends list, are still people that I communicate with, and I've partnered with, and just been involved in many number of avenues, including building and learning how to build together, and I think that was what for me created the community. I don't see that ability to create that community because you're not sitting one place for 5 hours to get 100 linden anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And it was that 100 linden that helped boost the economy of Second Life, because that 100 linden allowed me to go buy my first sweater at Swafeet's store. And so I bought my first clothing, which made me want to go get, camp some more, which made me have that community, which also allowed us to be able to put money back into the economy. And I think that was the greatest service that Linden Labs did for community, for Second Life. And if there was a way to bring back that camping legally, then I think I think it would help in both boosting the economy in SL and keeping people here, but also creating more of community companionship and just camaraderie.
That is a really interesting point. Let me. Do you want to very briefly explain what camping is? I'm sure everybody knows it, but I'm not sure who watches on YouTube right now. Just briefly explain what camping is, and then we can actually talk about some of these, methods that Linden Lab could employ or strategies to kind of build community. Go ahead.
There was a time when, and it became a big issue because some designers didn't want to put the money in, but they would have this setup that if you stayed on their property for, say, every 15 minutes, you would get 5 linden. Or every 20 minutes you would get 15 linden. So you would stay there and you would collect these linden. What that does is that would work on the traffic for that store or for that location, and by that would also work into the search method, which, if you have greater traffic and you search for instance, Stone's Works comes up. Or the Hattery comes up, or somebody's, whoever has more traffic would run first on the list in search. And so there are a number of store owners who couldn't afford to do perhaps the camping that started yelling the loudest about why Linden Lab is allowing this to go on, because it's so unfair.
Oops, and I crashed. I crashed. I hope we still have the YouTube stream going. We should. Yes. Oh, boy. Yeah. That we crashed yesterday a few times. Let's get back in. And as people on the YouTube stream saw, that Filthy Fluno was also trying to get in. It was bumping into walls, so that is cool. We have another guest. Meantime, let me look at the YouTube stream because I saw a few interesting comments here. Jeffrey Conklin said, I met my second wife in SL 10 years ago. That is great. And Solak Otobide says, referring to earlier that story, I was actually talking about old Second Lifers who then left and then kind of wanted to go back in, and of course Zolak is making a great suggestion. TP around when you come in and look to other places and join some groups. Absolutely. And the weird thing really is, what baffled me so much is that this was a comment that came from really sort of old-timey Second Lifers who left and then wanted to come back.
Because they were bored, and they taught me how to use the photography sets that were,
Darkstone is still
that our viewers allowed. So, there's a lot of things I think that's valuable about, the camping and that type of thing that should be brought back, I think, and I've always felt that way. And I've gotten into knockdown, drag out arguments in group chats with people who would argue against camping. So I don't know, whatever.
And one thing I think that camping also did, that I know it did for me, is I'll admit it. I can be Little Miss. I want it sooner. Not necessarily now, but sooner. And camping takes time. So, yeah, I would camp for lindens in the early days. But I wanted more lindens more rapidly, so it encouraged me to actually start DJing in here so I could earn more money in a similar period of time. So that also encourages people to work in here and do other forms of contributions, whether DJing or building or whatever. So it's a really good entryway, I think.
So, folks,
several things.
Folks,
Absolutely.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Great. I crashed, and you guys had an awesome conversation without me. I think the show is better without me. I'm gonna go. You guys keep talking. No, that was awesome that you brought it.
No. Stay.
And we also have Filthy Fluno. He found a little bed, which is great. I have no idea if Filthy has voice. He looks very comfortable. If he does have voice, Filthy, let us know and start talking. But in the meantime, the whole camping thing. Oops. There he is. Filthy, how are you doing?
Yeah, I have not been in World for 2 years, and Drax sends me a message on Facebook, and I had to reload Second Life. I can't see shit. I can barely hear anything, and I'm smoking some Northern Lights.
So it's just like
G-rated, Filthy.
Filthy. It's just like the olden days, right? You can't see
Right on,
shit.
man. It's good. It's really good to see your pixels, Drax.
Oh, Filthy! It is so awesome. I can't believe that you made it. I mean, it's fabulous. So Filthy, I introduced you earlier. I don't know if you heard it, but you're one of the pioneering artists that pioneered many different applications for art in Second Life. And one of them was that you also used Second Life sort of as a showroom, and you had openings and vernissage, and people could look at stuff, and then they could buy it, and then you would ship the physical item to them in real life. Let's do this. Introduce yourself from how you see yourself. Who are you? When did you get started? Briefly, and then I have a bunch of questions for the entire group. Go ahead, Filthy.
Oh, okay. Thanks. You said you covered a lot of it. When I went into Second Life, I didn't have really a clue what I was doing. I was working full time as an executive director of an arts organization, and to condense that story, I started to show my artwork in Second Life in such a way that somebody would order the Second Life version of it. I'm a painter, and I would send them the real life version of it. And it was a lot of lindens. I brought a lot of lindens in and out of Second Life. Thousands. And
You brought more in and out than sort of the regular money laundering gangbangers in Second Life.
Yeah, well, I was friends with a lot of those guys.
I thought Filthy
Of
was
course.
a money laundering gangbang.
I was just gonna say.
I was just so lucky because this technology there was such a huge wave of publicity coming up on Second Life, and I was just so lucky to be at the right spot at the right time. In March, I think it was 2015, I got contacted by the New York Times, and they did a 6-page spread in New York Times Magazine focusing on me, but also on the art scene. Mm-hmm. And it was it changed because of my Second Life. It changed my real life. My dog's about to throw up on my head. Not even joking.
Okay,
no.
while you clean that up, I guess you meant when did you come in? You come in 2005.
I'm sorry to sound like showing off. It's just been so long, and I think one of the reasons why I made amazing friends in Second Life and all the Second Life conventions, and I was an artist. And I remember when I was executive director, I had lunch with Pathfinder Linden, and he kind of came up. We kind of had hooked up because we were both in the Boston area, and I said, "This Second Life is so amazing. I want to work there. You guys hiring?" And he said, "Why don't you just be an artist? You can be an artist in Second Life and see how that goes." And that went really well for a while. The economy shifted. I think a lot of the larger, like IBM and a lot of the larger corporations, they had dipped their feet into it, and they couldn't really sort out what really to do with it. And then there were people. There was like little guys like me and other people who were connecting to these audiences that these big corporations wanted to, and they couldn't.
Yeah.
So Second Life was such an amazing, it leveled the playing field. This is for me my own experience. You know,
I love that you say that, and you know, people sometimes get tired of because I say the same thing with leveling the playing field, and it's so it's really that revolutionary concept that you described, that even that the big companies that wanted in and wanted to get something out of it really couldn't compete for a while, or actually maybe never, with people like yourself or others who were just entrepreneurs who did their thing and really wanted to, you know, had something to say. And even the big companies with all the marketing dollars in the world couldn't really compete with that.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and I'm familiar with a lot of people. I mean, I've heard of a lot of you guys on stage. It's you know, everything's kind of draggy, so it's a little bit difficult for me to see stuff. But I always thought the best thing about Second Life was making connections.
Maybe it's the stuff that you're smoking. I don't know.
Well, you know, it just became legal over here, so I'm growing like 100 plants in my kitchen.
From the money laundering Linden dollar days.
I don't think it's that legal.
Come on over, Drax.
I'm going to teleport right.
It's legal in some states.
Yeah, I'm joking, but I really missed. I did about 20 to 30, maybe 40 hours a week in Second Life for a few years, and that was my income. And I was making connections in the art world that, I mean, I had a show at the San Jose Institute of Technology. I had never been there, but I met somebody there in Second Life, and we connected. And I mean, I've had shows in Portugal, in France, just from the connections I made in Second Life, like sight unseen. And this technology took me all around the world, and I really missed that part of it, you know, because things have calmed down. I don't sit down every day like I used to and be like, I'm going to do Second Life, which means I'm going to do some marketing or I'm going to be with my friends. I don't do that much anymore. I kind of depend a lot more on carbon-based, interactions over here. But
is that mutually exclusive for you? I was wondering, and I want to ask the other guys as well. Some people say, well, yeah, I really kind of, I moved into the carbon-based world. And some people have told me, like, oh, yeah, I don't need that anymore. It's how they phrased it. It's interesting because, so what I'm saying basically is that, quote-unquote, ex-Second Lifers sometimes phrase it as a need themselves, almost like the mainstream press always does, right? So a lot of press articles about Second Life are like, yeah, I understand that somebody needs that, but otherwise it's like, you know, okay, if you're physically disabled, then it provides some value. And that drives me crazy when the press has that reductive look at it. But I have other former ex-SLers tell me that same thing, basically. Yeah, I'm not going in because I don't need it. With you, Filthy, when you say you move to the carbon-based world, is it a very separate thing, or is it also just because the way you use Second Life, or sort of like, is it like a job or a town that you still love, but you kind of move to another town and change jobs, kind of?
Yeah, man. You know, it's a lot of what you just said, and one thing that I started to realize at first, maybe I was a little skeptical, but the art scene seemed to be moving from people who were bringing their real life images as textures, throwing them on a block, and saying, "This is my art." There were people who were using, like Dan Coyote, DC Spenceley. There were guys that were using the technology to make art that the artwork could only exist in the virtual world, and that stuff completely washed over me. I couldn't do it. Really pushing the technology, really pushing the graphics, really pushing the interaction of what's an avatar, what's a person, how, where's the line, where do we draw the line? So as that scene kind of shifted, I felt like my artwork, which was inspired from Second Life, but I started to feel like it was just a little irrelevant, and I started spending more time in front of the easel working on my craft. And that's something that I learned. I was making lots of art because people were buying it, but I wasn't making something that somebody might not buy. And that's something that that's something that people, that every artist should think about when they're when that's what they do. Now I'm an artist. I make art for a living, and I haven't brought any of my art back into Second Life, and I was in Second Life so much. When I documented all my interactions in Second Life. You can save all the chat history, and I would bring artworks into Second Life, and just import them as textures, and I would never really have a photo of, I would have a photo of it, but nothing that I would show off in real life, because I didn't really have that. I couldn't go into galleries and just show them. But in Second Life, you could do that. Mm-hmm. So I have inventory in Second Life that I'm just dying to dig back into, because there's artworks in there that I have no documentation of on this end of making them.
Okay, so we have to agree, and especially here 14 years later, I also have to say that your avatar and your whole sort of look as an avatar, I think you're ready to jump back in and take the Second Life art world by storm. You got to put some shows together and exhibit and sell. No, it's not every.
That would be amazing.
but I have to say, really, that the avatar look of you have an iconic look as well. I mean, this is who knows? It's interesting that you say that your approach to using Second Life as an artist, you feel that was pushed out a little bit by the different approach, where people made basically virtual art that solely existed in Second Life. That's a very interesting thing. I've never thought about it that way, but that's probably it's where the interest had shifted. I want to bring the others back in. What do you guys think about Second Life as an artistic realm? I mean, Cinnamon, do you feel that you're an artist, or is that kind of a highfalutin term that you want to stay away from? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm an artist, and I'm very creative, and the sky's the limit here. I mean, once I discovered what I was passionate about here, that I may not really be able to do in real life, that I could absolutely do here, and everybody, could enjoy the whole experience of it and share that and everything. I mean, I just think it's a really wonderful format to get out there and do what you love and what you're passionate about. And for me, in the beginning, when I first got here, after I discovered that there was no boss at the end to beat, and I thought, what does the person?
That's the key. Yeah.
What does a person do here? And for me, it turned out to be photography, and so I did a lot of that in there. And I currently have a studio that I'm trying to get off the ground, but I've been doing photography and poetry and making videos. It's just been a huge opportunity for me to be able to really expand on those things. I would never be able to do any of the stuff that I do here in SL in real life. So I absolutely appreciate it.
That's an amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, I was going to ask Filthy. Sorry, go ahead, Filthy. Yeah. Oops, Phil.
I'm sorry. I just say I love that, and I agree with what she's saying so much. And sometimes when you say, "Yeah, I'm an artist," it does sound a little bit like you said. It sounds. I'm like, oh well, everything that I make and that I shit out is a piece of art, just because I'm an artist, But it also.
Hope Cinnamon, close your mic real quick. Go ahead, Filthy.
No, for me, I was always proud to wear that badge as an artist, because I really worked my ass off, and I still do, so that I can get my voice out and what I need to show the world. And Second Life, man, there's nothing like Second Life to do that. In my experience, man, there's nothing like it. And lots of people and companies have tried. Maybe it's just a group of people that are here. Maybe that's just it. We all have, to quote, what's his? I'm sorry. We all have our own fingerprint, and everybody has their own fingerprint. And why do we all have our own fingerprint? And I think Second Life kind of helps you find out about that.
I want to ask, first of all, you have a fan in the audience. I think Serena Lush is in the audience as a big fan. Morten Winkler says that I'm too loud in the stream. People on YouTube say I'm not loud enough. So, it's like we need more cowbell. That's pretty clear.
Yes, cowbell.
I want to say, because I wanted to ask Filthy that question, but I'm not gonna, because Cinnamon, you made a really great point here also, and there's different opinions about this since we're on the subject. A lot of people feel sometimes offended and sometimes threatened when things are opening up to people who are not quote unquote professional in a certain sense. So Filthy called himself a professional artist. Normally that term is defined, or in society it's defined by, okay, you can make a living with what you're doing, then you can call yourself a professional. I had a discussion last week with an old friend of mine who is a little bit down because he says, I can't really make money with my music, but I'm really still pursuing it. But it's sad to me that I'm not a professional. And I told him, I think you are a professional because you have a professional attitude about the music that you put together, and then you're putting it out there. And yeah, you have a side job and whatnot, or a day job, but to me, you're still a professional. So I told him that I think we should redefine this stupid term. I want to ask Darkstone, when are you offended when the New York Times calls people in Second Life, they don't call them straight out amateurs that do really crappy crap. They kind of wrap that up in a little bit better words. But I read the mainstream press has a lot of disdain, oftentimes when it comes to sort of the output. And Darkstone, I would call you an artist as well. I mean, are you offended by this, or how do you define yourself? Are you kind of like, I don't care what people think of me. To me, it's important what my people here in SL think of my stuff, or how do you see this?
Well, going from my side, I'm not an artist. I was a chef for 35 years. So what I know how to do is I can take your cauliflower, and I can take your lamb hocks, and I can make a dish, and I can create a plate for you. And in that art, that's what I do. So I look at those artists who create the mesh, who create the textures, who create the sculpts, and I take their work, I put it together on my plate, and I serve that to my public, to the people who wanna buy the plate that I make. Mm-hmm. And that's how I look at it. That's how I look at Second Life. I wish I was an artist. I wish I could make a sculpt. I wish I could make textures, but I can't, and I don't.
And I do agree with that, but I also have to say, I do agree with that, but I also have to say, if everyone just kind of backs up a little bit and looks, and if you look at the screen, I guarantee you, have just being here in Second Life right now, you've made artistic and creative decisions.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And that's not to say that a chef is not an artist. That's not to say that I have never created a plate of food that is worthy of 5 stars. And to me, that's my art. Yes, I'm not saying, but as far as you being an artist and me being an artist, you're the artist, I'm not. But I can turn what you have made into something that is presentable for somebody else's palette. I could take your artwork, I can use that as a texture, and I can add that into onto some sculpt or some mesh. I mean, you'd be surprised what I have for textures on hats. I think that some women would be shocked, or some, guys would be thrilled to know what they're wearing on their head is, it's not daisies.
Please tell me you have a hat that could fit over this afro. I will love you.
I have a number of hats, and any one of them would fit over that afro. You just have to make it big enough.
So I love this that we're describing here. What you're saying also with the food is great. Let me throw in a quick anecdote, because my grandmother played the drums actually, and she played the violin, and they had a little band on the farm. They were farmers, but they made their own entertainment. They made no money. They made their music. Exactly. So there was no TV or anything, so they made their own music, but they were very, very artistic about it. I just want to throw that out there. And then also I would stipulate that everybody who is, and what Filthy said, I totally agree with that. I do feel that the creative act has to be defined much broader. I mean, I can be an elitist myself when it comes to books. Like I read a lot, and then sometimes, when it's like poor language, it kind of really pisses me off. Like, I'm wasting my time. That dude should have like crafted the language a little bit better, right? So I feel kind of offended that I already spent like so many hours to go through these hundreds of pages and say, maybe it gets better, and then it still sucks, primarily because I'm a kind of a connoisseur of language. But that's not to say that that person is trying hard. And I think that's sometimes also what we dismiss, right?
I agree with you. But when I was hosting, when I was running clubs and hosting at clubs, there was always this big, massive in-war between singers who sang and played an instrument. Yes. And those singers who only played karaoke, and I would get offended. I mean, I would be offended for the singers who did karaoke, because these people, these snobs, would stand there and say, "They're not singing. That's not. They don't play music." What do you mean? Their voice is not a musical instrument? Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. I find that offensive for you to be able to say that. But, so there was this big war that was going on. And so who's the artist? Is the artist that sings karaoke and sings it really well? And I can name you any number of singers who are top level singers in SL, against those people who can sing okay and they play a guitar perhaps really well. Are they any more artists than the singers on the karaoke? I mean, who's the artist?
And also, everybody starts somewhere. Filthy, sorry, I got to cut you off because we men here on the panel, I'm observing that we men are occupying the airtime. I would like to have our female counterparts chime in on that subject matter. Cinnamon said something so beautiful that got us started. Who wants to chime in from your end of the spectrum about like what, who's an artist, who's not an artist? Are we all just amateurs? Should we all just forget it and get a day job?
You're making me think of my
have
DJing.
To be creatively limited here? Why does there have to be labels?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I do a multitude of things. I'm like a Jane of all trades and master of none, and I'm good with that. I like not having limits.
I have to say that from my German upbringing, and I lived in America for a long time, that's what I really admired as well, because this is also a cultural thing. The Americans, to their credit, are much faster to embrace a term, right? That's how I feel as an immigrant, basically, because in Germany, it's like, I can't say that. I'm kind of like, that's kind of arrogant. I would say in Germany, you have to go to school for something for 4 or 8 years before you can sort of call yourself something. And in America, you just, okay, I'm going to go to Guitar Center. I'm going to buy myself a guitar, and then I'm a musician. And I actually think that's really cool.
Yeah, that is great. And I think I've gone 360 on that issue, because I think there's been times where I've felt this need to know that there is somebody authentic, that there's authenticity, and which comes with, you know, expensive equipment maybe.
That's the other thing.
But just running and getting a guitar and saying that you're a musician, I like go for it, you know. See what happens. I also agree we have too many labels.
Lizana,
too many of
what
us.
do you think?
Yes. Well, what I was hearing with the whole discussion is I was thinking about just being a DJ, and there's an art to DJing.
No, there's not. You're not a musician. That's not a DJ. You're just going to put your CDs on, and then, you know, what's the art in that?
Oh my goodness.
Beat matching, key matching, assembling the music to fit the theme, responding to the audience, skewing the set to fit what they're into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. But you're putting the finger also on that. For example, a DJ, when you straight out compare that to a musician who plays an instrument, the DJ also has, just like you said, has a responsibility. A good DJ has the responsibility to really get in on a connection with the crowd.
Yes.
And the musician
Absolutely.
too, but the DJ has to have a kind of a different connection because his task is quite different.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we have there are types of people who will call themselves DJs, and technically it's true, but the ones that, I mean, a good singer with backing tracks is still working with the audience and still connecting with the audience. The kind of self-described DJ who throws together a 2-hour set list in Winamp, hooks it into the club, and goes to make lunch is an entirely different animal.
I see. So, like, I do it, like, I put, like, my iTunes playlist and just stream it into my parcel. I'm not a DJ, is what you're saying. All right, I get it.
Well, that's music streaming. If you're catering the music to the theme of your sim, that's a different level.
I'm kidding. I'm not even doing that. I'm just getting a pre-existing stream and match it to my parcel. No, Miles 11th Hour, who is really actually a quite talented musician, an accomplished musician in the audience, and I think that means a lot because he says, Miles says, actually he shouts, the art of DJing is knowing the type of music that moves your listeners just like a musician. Fabulous. Filthy, I know you're dying to say something, and you may. Let me throw this out to the audience. I want the audience members also on YouTube. Think about, again, the theme of the show. We are still here. Why are you still here? Why are you logging into Second Life in 2017? People in the audience, please put it in the local chat. People on YouTube, put it in the chat there, and I'm going to monitor it and read it. And Filthy is dying to say something. Go ahead.
I love you. That's all I need to say right now.
All right, that's. I thought Filthy. We said we're going to keep this in the private chat.
You know, honestly, like 10 years ago, I forget how long I've been in Second Life, but when I would go to see a live music, it all seemed it was like magic. It was so hard to believe that there was actually somebody on the other side doing this, but eventually I went to a convention and I met one of the musicians, Celine Jean Rutabaga, and we became instant friends and love her to death. And so every time I saw her in Second Life, I was thinking, I mean, I had so much more appreciation for watching what she's doing, and I love that I actually could stay logged in Second Life and like make dinner or like do something else, step away, and still have like such a great connection to having, for me, her playing in my kitchen now, because our avatar is right there. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a great imagination who's in Second Life. I can't see how you cannot have a good imagination and be in Second Life.
You know, I think that's really oh my God, this is, I think, the defining thing that puts us all together. We're such a diverse group. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds. And I mean, I know people say this all the time, but I love to, it really bears repeating, that there is no other place where I truly believe this, where there's so much cross-pollination between different groups. In the physical world, you hardly, there's a lot of people always stay in their trajectory from wherever they come from. Usually, I mean, people don't go out. I mean, I come from sort of a middle class background. If I hadn't gone to America without a work permit, I probably wouldn't have worked on a construction site and met all these wonderful people and just saw life from a completely different perspective than my parents did, for example. That's just a random example. But I think Second Life kind of represents that to me in many ways. So I put the word out. People, please put that into the chat. Why are you still here? Filthy, what? You want to say something again? Gosh.
No, I'm good. I should probably turn off my microphone because I think it's triggering when I'm not.
Yeah, I'm totally triggered too. And we have my friend the troll Lavender Storydell on the live stream on YouTube. I did an interview with her. It's episode 149. Lavender Storydell once kind of harassed us on a live show. And this is the most hilarious thing. And she's very young. So she says she's an artist too, because she's trolling and that there's an art to it. I pretty much disagree, because I think it's kind of the humor of a 10-year-old. And no offense to 10-year-olds, but what was funny when Lavender sort of came into our live show and tried to harass us and tried to get a rise out of us, you know how she tried to do it, and I found that hilarious. She said to me, "Oh, Drax, you're an old guy," and then Frauke Horenbeek was there. She says, "Oh, you're so old. You guys are old. That's why you spent your time in an outdated video game." And I said, "What?" You must be like, you're probably 20 and it's Saturday night. What are you doing here, harassing people who are like your dad's age? That's pretty darn pathetic. Anyway, complete side note. Diana, what do you think about this whole art thing? Are the people who are building stuff here on SL14B, are they artists or are they amateurs?
Well, you know, I think amateur is a relative term.
Mm-hmm.
To me, an amateur is somebody who just got started doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want me to build, I'm an amateur.
That is such an important point. We all start somewhere. Everybody at some point in life starts somewhere. Even the greatest, most well-known, most wealthy artist on the planet started somewhere.
You know, and I took a little bit of heat from someone the other day about, well, why do you let all these new residents in here? You know, they don't belong here. Well, we were all new once. I mean, we all went through that noob phase. And why exclude them? How else are you going to learn?
Well, after a while, you know, you kind of get a little bit established, and then you kind of feel threatened by new people coming in. I think maybe that's maybe the dynamic. People in the audience, let me know your story. Why are you still here? Tell us your personal story. Sorry, I stepped on you, Diana. Go ahead.
Well, it's okay. And I mean, granted, you know, after a while, especially, you know, after some people, you know, I've been here for 10 years. I know people that have been here for 14 years. And, you know, the behavior gets a little annoying, but you have to start somewhere.
You mean the behavior when you interact with quote-unquote artists?
Well, some artists.
Maybe that's the defining factor. Maybe people kind of grow up
that's one thing that...
I'm kind of full of myself, and I like to talk a lot. Maybe I'm an artist.
I have a reputation for having a low tolerance for, quote, artists.
I think that's probably really good for them that they have to interact with you.
Artistes?
Oh yeah, artisans.
I always look at this event as a blank canvas. There is no one here that is any better than anyone else.
Amen to that.
We all have different skill levels. We all have different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I will not tolerate it. You know, I've had people that come up to me and go, "Oh, how could you put me next to this pile of garbage?"
Oh, so they like fight over their parcels. Like, oh my God, that's hilarious. It's like, he's dragging down the neighborhood.
You know, in somebody's eyes, that's beauty.
The property
Not everybody
values
is
are
going to be brilliant from
declining.
day.
Yeah, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and my favorite is, well, at LEA, LEA's that way.
Linden Endowment of the Arts. There's a lot of controversy about that too, right? I mean, I'm a little bit out of it. Sometimes I hear stuff like it's very kind of favors certain people. Some people accuse it to be kind of a clique that you can't get in. Always the same guys.
I mean, they serve their purpose. You know, they provide free land for people that don't ordinarily have it.
Mm-hmm.
And good for them.
I want to read a few things here in the local audience. People are shouting. People are shouting a lot. Rose Drop Rust says, I was and I'm still in awe of you, Filthy. Let's start here from the beginning. Cassiana says, I will answer why I'm still here when I will know what I'm actually doing. That's quite brilliant. Rose Drop Rust says, I met you there, Filthy, in SLCC 2009. You remember her? Rocky Constantine says, meeting someone in First Life at a convention is a wonderful experience, makes connection even more special. Rose Drop, you get a call here from Filthy. Did you hear him? Cassiana says Second Life still has huge potential, unexploited or fully discovered. I would say that too. Also, what Diana just said about logging in or finding things. You know, I mean, you could just roam around the mainland on a bicycle for days, and it would be, to me, completely fascinating. That would actually be a really cool stream, sort of a road movie. Maybe Filthy and I should get on the road on the mainland and drive in a car and just do that for 2 days and stream that and see what happens. There's a crazy idea that doesn't really contribute to...
I pay good limits to that.
I think we should do that on Sundays, and we could do a Sunday brunch kind of tour.
Wait a minute, Filthy. Did you just hear that somebody would actually pay for it? We have to do that. We have to get a PayPal donation thing going, a Patreon account, and then a Linden Dollar account. And then when we're streaming this, people can just donate money for gas, so that we can buy gas. We will run out of gas on the mainland. Hey, that's a goddamn. Just too many ideas, and I'm not even smoking any weed. Severian Firecaster says, real community connection with kindred spirits is everything. We were somewhere around Barstow on the edge of the desert when the drugs began to take hold, says Severian Firecaster. I'm not quite sure what that refers to, but all right.
Hunter S. Thompson.
Thing apart.
Oh, is that a Hunter S. Thompson quote? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read a few things from the YouTube stream. Solak Otubide says, I'm still on SL because I have met some great friends here who are physically around the world. Real life limits me to a few dozen of miles around home, except for an occasional vacation or convention. I can log into Second Life almost every day. Thank you for saying that, Solok Otubide. I want to quickly throw in another anecdote. I was at a lunch with friends of my son. One time there was an older woman, and we talked about Second Life, and I logged on the laptop to explain it to her, and she looked at it and she says, wow, And I said, what do you think of it? What do you think this is? And she says, well, that's overcoming isolation. That was her first response to when she actually saw it. It was not like, oh, interesting. No, I'm not interested in games. She immediately grasped, and he was someone who was not really, who would probably call herself computer illiterate, but she immediately grasped what this could do. A couple more quotes from the YouTube stream. Jeffrey Conklin says some people do SL to overcome social anxiety disorder. Really good comment. Solakotopedia, I guess, says noobs. It's like the anti-immigrant sentiment in the USA. We're all immigrants or descendant of immigrants. Everyone was an SL and noob first. That's an interesting comment. That's a good point. Romer Alderson says, I think everybody in SL is an artist. The way you put together your avatar is an artistic expression. That is a really good comment, too, I think. That is so true. Reaching the end of Second Life is like reaching the end of the internet, says Jeffrey Conklin on the YouTube stream. And Bixel Shuftan says, Second Life has been my best audience as a writer, but I also met many interesting people here. And American Horror Story says, I've been here for 3 years and 4 months, which may not be a long time, but I'm a mermaid here in SL and have been since day one. I love the community. I've met so many friends from around the world. And my troll says, Dragster is enjoying all the cleavage. Now that's a great comment. Thank you, Lavender. Let me move on to the next subject, which is virtual reality. As we're wrapping up the show, we have to wrap in about 15 minutes because then I have to edit it and put it out as a podcast. Virtual reality is everywhere. Everybody talks about virtual reality, and when the press talks about VR, they talk about interfacing with headsets. Now, a lot of people have told me, and I'm including myself, I also have headsets. Some people know that I'm in the closed beta of Sansar, the new world that Linden Lab is building, and I have to use my headset, and I enjoy it, and there's great potential, but I cannot be in the headset for a long time. My personal opinion on this matter is that I would like to see creative virtual worlds, progress and become more sophisticated, even with new technology. I have nothing against that, but I think banking on the adoption of headsets all around, I don't know. Maybe that's not going to happen so fast. And let me say one more thing. I also think that what Linden Lab is doing now with Sansar, or what High Fidelity is doing, is really no threat to Second Life. And I think this show really proves it. There is a secret sauce that makes Second Life tick. We're here at SL14B with all these wonderful exhibits where I've only seen 5%. I have to go back and see the rest. It's just an amazing display of creativity. It's a display of what happens when you level the playing field, as Filthy said earlier. It shows us when we break the barrier, that artificial barrier between creator and consumer, and we give people the opportunity to flex their creative muscle, what wonderful things can happen. And then you add the economic factor. Darkstone was mentioning with camping earlier, or just making having a functioning in-world economy. All this stuff together, so successful. Second Life, I really don't think is threatened, or the existence of Second Life is threatened by this the VR hype train. But I want to hear you guys' opinion. Let me start with Darkstone. What do you think of virtual reality? Does it interest you? Do you care? Do you feel that may be a threat to the existence of Second Life, or what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think Sansar is going to threaten SL Second Life as much as we had all thought at the beginning when the idea first came out. One, I think it's cost prohibitive right now for probably 80% of the people right now in Second Life, just for the fact that people can't get through, the birthday celebration without crashing. I can't see them having the system that's going to be able to carry them through on Sansar. I personally would love to be able to, get the headset and be able to have an excursion through through there and to see what I could do, but I don't think I would lose Second Life personally, because I don't have the chops to be able to create in Sansar the way, to do what I do here in Second Life. So, and do I think that we're going to lose all of our people over there? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. It may encourage more people to come into Second Life who are, who first look at Sansar and say, oh, well, what's this other thing that they're doing? And they find it easier to navigate through here. And the other thing is that I think that there are too many people right now in Second Life with the medical issues that will never be able to put on a headset.
Yeah.
Will never be able to.
Yeah,
because,
I'm one of those people.
I can't do it. I don't know that I can do it physically.
I'd also add that the headset thing, it's also a matter of, it requires extra steps in order to participate. With Second Life, you're on your computer, you're on your monitor. You just launch another application and you go in. With the VR, with the virtual reality worlds, you have to put on the headset and then launch things and do things. And you are stuck doing just that. So there's also the factor of you have to drop everything else in your life to go into Sansar. And that's not going to be as attractive either.
Now, I've not been in Sansar. I've actually done very little research on it, just simply because it always appeared to me that this is not going to be something for me. I'm partially blind in one eye. And I know the last time I was on your show, the one of your guests told me, oh, well, just use your good eye. Well, that's not what the headsets are for. And, I can't even wear 3D glasses without getting ill.
You're bringing up this is so important, inclusivity and accessibility.
Right. Now, I spoke with Maxwell Graff briefly yesterday. And we were
was
talking about it.
Was that a dig at my 3D glasses?
Absolutely.
No, that was not a dig at your 3D glasses. You would not be you without your 3D glasses.
Oh, I know. Amen.
And he said there is a desktop mode. I thought, well, okay, that's a cool thing.
Yeah, I think
But,
the worlds have desktop modes, but what you're saying that falls into kind of my thinking as well. It's the accessibility for people who have conditions that that prohibit them to kind of enjoy that. And if everything moves into that realm, and you can't do anything else, it's really the inclusivity that SL provides is kind of gone. That kind of concept. It's like, if you can't use it, well, shit out of luck.
Has turned a lot of people off of Sansar. Because they don't think, well, this is not going to work for me. It's not going to be a world for my disability.
Well, I think in a way, I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, Darkstone, sorry. You guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not about to go plunk down almost $1,000 for a headset.
Right, you're talking about a system, but also, the way that Linden Lab and the way I understand that this is supposed to work is that they are creating experiences, and people like me are supposed to pay to walk into, say, Mad P's experience that they've made, and they're fabulous artists in Mad P, and don't get me wrong, I would love to see what they would actually create in 3D that I could immerse myself into. But for me, because I spend a great deal of time in SL, and I leave my avatar on and I get up and I walk away. So for me to be able to walk into an experience and you are paying either by the experience or by the hour in somebody else's experience, well,
let me clarify a few
camping again, because I won't have the money for it.
Let me clarify. Oh God, I want to clarify just a few things. And again, I mean, it really. My question was also broadly more about also virtual reality, kind of pushing away almost desktop, because Philip Rosedale at a recent event in High Fidelity, I don't want to misquote him, but he essentially said, I think it was with Robert Scoble, Silicon Valley personality and writer, they were talking about that desktops will basically be replaced with headsets or with screens, just like glasses. We're not talking really bulky headsets. They were talking far out into the future, also kind of merging with augmented reality, that we all just wear the desktop on our faces basically, and that people will not buy screens anymore. They will just have it in front of their face.
Well, that's what they were talking about with the Google Glasses.
Yeah,
the Google Glasses have gone nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Google Glass tanked.
Yeah.
Exactly. So how they think that they're going to be able to do, these, I think there's going to be a certain elite, and I use elite not necessarily in the way we understand it, but that certain elite group that will get into the virtual reality, that will get into the desktop virtual reality, that'll get into wearing the glasses, that'll give you that desktop virtual reality thing, and create that interactive stuff. But I think it's going to be, it's going to be the Porsche of, a few people.
I think so too. That's actually my fear. On the other hand, of course, there's Google Cardboard on the lower end. Cassiana also says VR is an intermediate step until interactive holograms will be fully developed. So the prices are collapsing, and who knows where the future goes. It's definitely with Google Cardboard and your existing smartphone, there is a whole bunch of immersive stuff that you can use also in education, which is exciting. But again, I just wanted to add just a little bit of information about Sansar because this came up. Sansar has a desktop mode, and Sansar is, to your point, Darkstone, the point of Sansar is really exactly like Second Life in that Linden Lab is trying to enable creators to monetize their creations. So this is completely optional. For someone like Matt P., it makes sense to charge an entrance fee, just like you go into Disneyland and then you go on some rides. For others, of course, maybe a musician will play at a club for tips. That makes maybe it doesn't make sense for him to charge an entrance fee. But the point is that in Sansar, this is not a mandatory thing. This is completely based on the individual experiences. In that sense, it's very much like Second Life. And so I'm very hopeful, frankly, from what I've seen, where the train is headed, with where they're going, because conceptually, the team that is working on it, I think most of the people really do understand the secret sauce of Second Life. But it's years away from us at this point, because there is also, it's closed beta. There's no culture. Second Life has a vibrant culture. Yeah, who wants to jump in here, or I'll read some comments from the YouTube stream, and then we'll do a final round. I was going to say here, Dark Mistress says, storytelling is what brought and keeps me here, using Second Life to create machinima, creating stories from start to finish, having people in and outside of SL enjoy them motivates me. That's an awesome comment. Machinima, of course, is dear to my heart. Sir Vigereo says, SL is like Ragnarok online, an old platform that the users still love and play even over 10 years, the official release and all that tries to make a sequel failed. Donnie says, I worked for Matt P, such a talent there. Nalata says, just try to convince a woman with hair done and makeup to wear a headset at work. That's a good comment. Google Glass was a test, you dumb cucks, says Strichnin. Really qualified comment. As always, don't you love YouTube comments? I thank you guys for coming to this show. It's really so heartwarming to me to be in this community and have this little platform to kind of publicize the wonders. I'll put this out as a podcast, and the podcast listeners can then also view the live stream that we had yesterday when we were roaming around with Strawberry Sing, which was a lot of fun. And I have to do it again because I have seen maybe 5% of SL14B. and there is really nothing like it. Yes, Darkstone, you said it. The word elitist fell a lot. Linden Lab is exhibiting at the VR Society exhibit at Sotheby's in New York City yesterday. A small delegation. It's all over the news. And we're sitting here, but we're having a good time. And it's sometimes a good thing not to be part of the in crowd. I mean, or the crowd with the Porsche. Not that everybody drives a Porsche at Linden Lab. So some people take the BART. Filthy, last word.
I want to thank you for inviting me here. I wish I had more time to get to know everybody here on who's sitting here. I think there's a lot of important people here.
You need to go and harvest the weed and package it for sale.
No, but there's this thing with virtual identity, and just actually having a belief system that something on the computer screen, even when you turn it off, it's still part of you. And the more of people like that, I think that will bring the reality into virtual reality. And especially in the next few years. I think the next few years is going to be like out of this unbelievable what happens with virtual reality.
Awesome, Filthy. You may go now, and I'll contact you later about our road movie on the mainland. There's some people on YouTube. They already opening their wallets. They're posting their credit cards because they want to pay. They want to kind of pay for this movie that we're going to be doing. So we'll see what kind of budget, if we can afford a Porsche. Midnight in the audience says bento horses are the new Porsche. That's a pretty cool comment.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Filthy, for showing up. And Cinnamon, your last words. Where are you going next? Are you going anywhere? Are you staying here? Your final thoughts on this wonderful occasion. Or what do you... sorry, Cinnamon. That's my moderating style is terrible, I know. But let me ask you a concrete question. Now, Second Life is a teenager. Second Life is 14. It's a difficult age. If Second Life is a boy, then women become interesting. If Second Life is a girl, then boys become annoying. What do you wish this teenager Second Life at this point?
Well, I've only been here for half the time, so I don't know how
you
adopted
Second Life as when he was a child.
It's okay. I'd foster it. It's all good. It's been an amazing experience. Like I said, I have a studio here, so I'm actually a very busy person, and I really, really felt it was an amazing experience and opportunity to be able to come and do the DJ stages here. And I never actually considered myself to be a builder. It's like if there was something I needed and I couldn't find it, I would just make it. And that's kind of how I looked at it. So it's been really great for me. I don't have to be defined under any certain thing. I like and enjoy all walks of life and all creativity levels. And I just say, do what you're passionate about, and you'll never go wrong.
Wonderful. An empowering experience. Zana, what do you recommend this rowdy teen should be doing? What do you recommend as a parent?
Rowdy teenager should continue to grow and build and learn and explore, and remember that just because you're not the hot new trend doesn't mean you don't get a life that is long and fruitful.
That is really well said.
There are other shiny things that come and go, but some things endure. And Second Life is enduring, and that's important.
And it's the biggest success. I mean, the success should be defined like this, should it not? I mean, the definition of success is so narrow that we have.
Yes, you either have to be huge or you're nothing, and that's just wrong.
It's binary thinking. Comes from all these programmers. Precisely. All the people who program Second Life are to blame.
Aristotle has a lot to answer for.
Well, Diana, your last thoughts on this, and then we'll wrap up the show.
yeah, I just wish that Second Life in its current form would continue to grow. I think they've made a lot of improvements in the last couple of years.
Yes. Yeah.
And our celebration ends tomorrow, but the regions will be open for another week, and I'm actually going to go enjoy all this work I've done.
That is a privilege for you. You've been working so hard. You've been having to deal with all these sensitive artists, and now you can just glow.
No,
enjoy.
it's just that's kind of one of the little itsy bitsy irritations.
Trust me, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I work with musicians. That's even worse than visual artists. I'm sorry, guys. It's true.
But, next week, if you guys have some spare time, you'll find me probably over on the awesome region, riding the go-karts.
Mm-hmm.
And we have underwater bumper cars. And I got to play with them for maybe an hour one day, and I haven't been back since.
Can everybody in the audience please paste the Slurl if they have it available? And maybe Cinnamon, you can paste yours as well, if your stage and Darkstone. Just paste it in the local chat. And then I'll collect that and put it on the podcast page, which is going to take me an hour or so to edit the show and put it out as a podcast. And then I would say thanks everyone for showing up. Absolutely awesome. And I don't know if the audience if people in the audience have applause effects. Sound effects, please.
Yeah, Diamond, throw that at him.
Yeah, please. Come on. For the audience, not for me. For the panel and the audience. I'm panning the camera back here. Here we go. There we go. Let's make that a little louder. Yeah, keep it going. Keep the applause coming. Thank you, audience. Thank you guys for coming. A wonderful show. Oh, Diamond Marchand also just gave me, I'll post this on the podcast, the visitor information and gifts pack. That's probably the most important slurl. So I'll make sure I'll post that as well. And that wraps up the show. This has been the Drax Files Radio Hour without Jo Yardley. I'm sorry about that. And, I forgot to say, this is actually the last show for the season. We are taking a summer break. I'm continuing with the video series. The next video should be out in about 6 weeks. Little teaser, it is about people with physical disabilities. Not exclusively, but the theme is inclusivity, accessibility, and expression for people with various disabilities. That's on the Drax Files World Makers video series coming out probably early August, but the podcast is on hiatus until September 15th. Draxfiles.com is our website. There's plenty of shows for you to listen to. Please leave us a review on iTunes or on Stitcher. I recommend Stitcher as a wonderful app for radio lovers where you can stream all sorts of shows, and we're on there. Stitcher is supporting us. Thank you, Stitcher. You can also leave us a review on Stitcher. Draxfiles.com, radio@draxfiles.com is the email of the program. You can become a voluntary subscriber. Please tip Avatar Drax Files if you love the show. This is all unpaid volunteering work, just like this wonderful exhibit here at the birthday. You can become a voluntary subscriber of the podcast. You can become a sponsor. Ping me or Avatar Drax Files how to do that. You can get the banner on the website and all that good stuff. Now, oops, Donnie just told me that she ejected Filthy Fluno when he just came in the first place because she didn't know he was on the show. See, Filthy, that's what happens when a celebrity like yourself is gone for 2 years. All of a sudden, people throw you out. Hey, but I was out. You go. You're blocked. Awesome show. Cinnamon, Lisana, Diana, Darkstone, Filthy, and Judy. Unfortunately, we can talk to her about her days at Linden Lab. We're going to have a special show. I'm gone until September 15th. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Jo Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Time Portal, SL Artist, Warbug, Bay City You Know for Kids, 01 Heavy Industries Corporation, Extraordinary, Ionic, Maven Homes, Giza Creations, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Eros Avatars, Caravel Design, The Cube Republic, What Next, Landscapes Unlimited, Fallen Gods Incorporated, and Death Row Designs. Thumbnail by Justin Esparza. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.